Guitar Union's channel, and today I'm going to do a presentation on playing on 2 strings. So the guitar is a 6-stringed instrument, as it would appear, but many times in many situations we're not playing all 6 strings. So some people have said the guitar is a collection of 6 different instruments, all of which are each of the strings of the guitar. So if each string is a different instrument, then we can make combinations of different strings. And regardless of how you want to put it, there are possibilities. So let's get right into it by taking the natural notes, which form E major or which form C major or A natural minor, and I'm going to place these. First I'm going to ungroup them and then place them on the E string right here, E, F, G, A, B. Didn't do that right. Making all kinds of mistakes so far. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then we have, and I need to lock that in place. So then we can copy these down here. So here we have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you don't know, the E and the F naturally are a half step. The B and the C naturally are a half step. Everything else from natural note to natural note forms whole steps. So when we play from the E string to the A string as those 2 strings, then we are separated by the notes of a fourth. So basically that's exactly like this coming right up to here. And I'll align the rest of these notes here. And then A, B, and C. So we see when we start on the E string and play along with the A string, these 2 strings are good for playing fifths in the low end, like E and B, F and C, G and D, or even inverse fifths, which are fourths. But notice here, if we take out the oops, I don't know why I was doing that, but if we take out these intervals here, we see that we have the same interval repeated over and over again. So usually when we play from one string to an adjacent string, we're going to see a lot of notes on the same string, or on the same fret. E to A, G to C, A to D, B to E, C to F, D to G, E to A, and G to C. We'll bring those back right here. The only time that we don't see this interval, which is a perfect fourth, is from the F. And so that is just a lone exception there. So let's continue to move on here. And then if we put all the notes of the A string here, and this next string being D, would mean that everything pops up in relation to it, and naturally these notes are just duplicated down here. I like using 15 frets because that way if we can see some of the overlap, and it's not just cut off at 12 frets. But we see here that the A to the D is that same relationship of a fourth, so that must mean this is tuned that way. So in that regards, if that's the same, then we're going to see all the same intervals right here that we saw on these 2 strings. They're just now higher up. A, D, B, E, like we see right here, C, F, D, G, E, A, G, C, and of course the F and the B, which is considered augmented, is still in its shape right there. So not much different going on. We've just shifted up. And then if we move the D string 1 over, then we are going to have, once again, there's the D, there's the G, and then this is an open G right here too. So I can take all of these and copy them on, clean them up a little bit here so they're right next to each other, and then G, A, and B. Oh, I guess I didn't need the B because that was on the 4th fret. And once again, we have the same intervals right here, just in different locations. So what we're looking at here is once we get an understanding of what is directly across from us or what's in a certain area, then on these two strings, or these two strings, we're dealing with the same stuff. Okay. Let's continue on and move G over to here. Now, if you know the tuning of the guitar, the B is this right here. But notice every time we have a G, there's a C. We have a G, there's a C. We have a G, there's a C. Here we have a G, and there's a B. And so this is just the tuning of the guitar, but that's going to now create a different interval in each situation here than we were used to before. And it's become apparent right away that we don't have the same exact look, whereas here we had almost always something on the same fret next to us. Here we have a little bit of that, but it's now a different interval. So B, C, and D. G to B is a major third. It's not a perfect fourth. It's one step lower. So the perfect fourth would now be at a diagonal. Everything that was across A to D is now a diagonal. B to E is now diagonal. C to F, D to G, E to A, G to C, A to D. The ones that are directly across from each other are now major thirds, which makes it convenient when we're playing major thirds in this key here. We have them right across from each other. This is actually the formation of what we know as the A shape on the guitar. So now I'm just going to move the B over to here, and I can actually, because this is the same string, just move the E from there, and now we're back to normal. That's because B to E is a fourth. So now all the intervals look like they did before. So this is playing guitar on two strings, actually two adjacent strings each time. But now we're going to go to a different page here and place these right here and start looking at what do we have when we play notes in a non-adjacent fashion. We skip over a string here. So now we have the E and the D string. Well, the E to the D is what's called a minor seventh. And so when we go the cumulative distance of the 2/4, we end up with the minor sevenths. What's interesting is when we take a look, we see we have a minor seventh here, 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 minor seventh here. We only have two occurrences, this F to E and this C to B, where we don't have the minor seventh. Oops, did it again. I didn't lock any of these. So if I were to take out these two, which we call major sevenths, then you see the notes are directly across from one another. All the minor sevenths are directly across from one another. So when you go two strings over E to D, that's a minor seventh. And there tends to be 5 out of the 7 notes have a minor seventh in them. So let's take now, coming back here to rip this. We have A, and then I'm going to go back instead of writing them all out again. Let's move it over here. Now, here we have the same thing. Only the C to the B and the F to the E are major sevenths. Everything else is a minor seventh, just like before, because we're still dealing with two perfect fourths. Therefore, the cumulative distance. So this is your minor seventh. That's why seventh chords and minor seventh chords oftentimes can be played with, you know, these two notes right here. So now we're going to take this D string, go back one more time and grab the B string, move it over here. Now, when we go from the D string to the B string, we now have what's called a major sixth. So this pattern, once again, because of the fact that the B string is only tuned a major third from the previous string, then we're not going to arrive at a minor seventh here like we did on the other strings. So we look at these intervals here, and now we either have, instead of a major seventh or a minor seventh, we have a major sixth or a minor sixth. So from the D, we have a major sixth. From the E, there's a minor sixth. And from the F, a major. From the G, a major sixth. From the A, a minor sixth. From the B, a minor sixth. And then from the C, a major sixth right here. And it's important to point out, too, that a major sixth is an inversed minor third, and a minor sixth is an inversed major third. So you have your C to E, which is like a major third, F to A, a major third. They're just inverse. And then G to B. So these sixths actually sound good playing them together, the D and the B, the C and the E, the F and the D, and so on. Okay, so now we're going to go, the last one here, from the G to the high E. And we are in now the same scenario of major sixths and minor sixths, because the cumulative distance is a major sixth from the major third to the perfect fourth. So with the B string, whether we land on it or cross over it, we still have gone a cumulative distance. If, like in the last example, if we're on the B string moving here, then that's standard distance. Landing on it, crossing over it is going to affect what the intervals look like from other shapes. So moving forth now, we have a few other options for two-string play, and that would be crossing over more than a single string. So in this case, we're going to go from E all the way to the crossing over to the G. And in this case now, we have minor thirds and major thirds plus an octave. So it's fourth, fourth, fourth forms one octave plus a minor third. So we have a minor third, major third, again plus octave, major third, minor third, minor third, major third, minor third, minor third, major third, so on and so forth. All right, we're going to have to, keep this, come over here to my next one. I'm not going to forget to lock this time. Move these out of the way. So now, save this over here. Didn't mean to grab this one. And then so now from the A, skipping over two strings, we have the cumulative distance of a ninth, which would be a second. In this case, we would typically call it a ninth or a flatted ninth. There's the C with the ninth. This is a popular chord when you play C, and then this note right here, they call it C added 9. So your ninth is going to be from the 5th string to the 2nd string on the same fret. You see we have a couple of flatted ninths because a ninth is a second plus the octave. So most of the time, we know we only have 2 natural half steps, so that's what this would be right here. B to C is a half step. In this case, it's just plus an octave. So now, got to go back, get the D string. I can use my E string over here. And again, because we've crossed over the B string, now we're dealing with the same interval, a ninth. So this is also a ninth. Right here we have D to E. There's your E to F and your B to C. It's pretty basic once you start looking at it from every avenue right there. All right, so let's now move this over here. And we see that if we have, we now cross over 3 whole strings and end up on the B string, we have the interval of a perfect fifth plus an octave. So we have E to B, F to C, G to D, A to E. There's our B and our F again. That's our augmented fourth diminished fifth. C to G, D to A, E to B, F to C, G to D. So we see we have a lot of notes on the same string yet again. It's kind of, when you do stuff like this, it kind of shows you how and why the standard tuning was made, because it allows for a lot of stuff to be on the same fret. So now our A string is right there, and our E string is right here, and now we have all the same relationships. They're both fifths. So now we're climbing 3 strings. There's only 2 examples of that. and both of them either land on the B string or cross over the B string. And so we have all our fifths right here, yet again. And then the final two-string combination would be this. In this case, they are octaves, 2 octaves that is, so naturally everything's going to land on the same fret 100% of the time. So let's just recap here. We have 2 strings separated by a perfect fourth. With fourths, everything has its fourth except for the F in the natural scale, that's C major or A minor. So this is the same thing. We have our F and our B as the only note that doesn't contain the fourth. That's rather an augmented fourth. When we are on the B string, our fourth is diagonal. Our major thirds are on the same string or the same fret because that's how the strings are tuned. And then here we have our perfect fourths yet again from string to string. Here we have skipped 1 string, and now we have from string to the skipped string a minor 7th, so that yields a major 7th here, minor 7th, minor 7th, minor 7th, major 7th, minor 7th, minor 7th, major 7th. Same thing here with the major and minor 7ths. When we skip a string and land on the B string or land on the string past the B string, we end up with sixths, major 6 and minor 6, and of course the minor 6 is an inverse major third, major 6 is an inverse minor third. Now we're skipping over 2 strings and we have the cumulative distance of a minor third, so that makes the major third this, and of course that's a major third with an octave in between it, technically a 10th, not often referred to that way. Continuing on, we have our A to B, so seconds or ninths, if you will. And with the ninths, they're basically like a whole step, so there's only going to be 2 minor ninths, B to C and E to F. Same thing right here. And then here we have our fifths separated by an octave. And then finally, the 2 octave pattern right here. When you play guitar on 2 different strings, there ends up being 15 total possibilities on a 6-string guitar for 2 straight strings. Let me know what you think of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and play with possibilities on your own in this key and other keys. And I will see you at the next video. Thank you so much. Have a good one.